I've been thinking. I was really thinking, which anime was really the first anime that I took seriously? And then it got me thinking. Think all the way back to when I was a kid. I loved Pokemon. DBZ was cool, but to be honest, DBZ, even though it is a true anime, it wasn't to me. It was just like another thing that kids watch. But what was that first anime? Then I thought about it. What was the first thing that really felt like, oh, this is kind of different? And you want to know what anime that was? That anime was Yu Yu Hakusho. Yes, the ghost detective himself. That was the first anime to me that, like, I would say I was actually hooked to. Like, I was so hooked. It aired on Toonami. I even made a video not too long ago talking about some of the things that new anime fans face and old anime fans face. And one of the topics was having to watch everything on TV because I had an experience of trying to catch Yu Yu Hakusho multiple times, but that show would always come on at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and as a kid, you can't really stay up that late. It was almost impossible at that point. But this is definitely one of the anime I decided to take seriously, and I guess by me saying that, it's just like the type of anime it is. But Dragon Ball Z is all about the fighting and the power-ups and stuff, and it's cool, it's flashy. But Yusuke just don't care. Like, the first episode started off with a person dying. Even though they didn't stay dead, it was a crazy for my young brain. Okay, so let's stop right here. Because, to be honest, let's not assume that everybody knows the great show that is Yu Yu Hakusho. Now, what is Yu Yu Hakusho? Well, it's a story that follows Yusuke Urameshi. He's a teenage delinquent who dies unexpectedly. But here's the catch. He died trying to save a child. The crazy thing is that people think the sacrifice is so unlike him that even the afterlife gives him a chance to return. But he gets a chance to return only as a spirit detective. He basically has to go on cases and kind of solve cases or whatever, hunting down like supernatural threats to the human world. It's a little bit of a twist because, I will go ahead and say that the crazy thing about him saving the kid is that the kid wasn't even going to die. Whatever, you learn that in like the first 2 episodes. So he basically threw his life away for nothing, but his intent to save the kid was so, I guess, noble, they gave him a second chance. And along the way, he forms teams with Kuwabara, who's another school delinquent like Yusuke. Then they become close friends. Kurama, the embodiment of the nine-tailed fox spirit. Hiei, who is a super cool demon that a lot of people say reminds them of the original Sasuke, kinda. And throughout the show, they go through different arcs, right? Like, obviously, arcs where they kind of do their detective work. And then there's a very famous Dark Tournament arc. We'll get to that. Even going to seeing people that had the job of spirit detective before. All in all, this series is considered one of the most influential classics of all anime. Now that we know what it's about, let's get back to why I love it so much. Now, Yu Yu Hakusho wasn't just a show I watched. It wasn't my first anime, right? Because obviously I would go to something like Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z or just some of the stuff that just would randomly come on. It was the first anime, however, that made me feel like there was a whole different side of things. The anime was a little bit more mature and a little bit more dark. Like, this show kind of carried the weight. It was a lot of like heavy moments, if that makes sense. It introduced me to characters that weren't just heroes, right? Like, they weren't just trying to be on a journey, or they weren't just trying to like fight strong opponents. They were flawed heroes. They were people dealing with issues, dealing with trauma. Yusuke wasn't your typical protagonist. He was rough around the edges. He wasn't like the typical hero type, and that's what made him so fun. He was the kind of kid that made mistakes, but he grew and learned to be a better person. Watch him evolve from a delinquent into like a true spirit detective gave me like a new understanding of how character arcs work. And if you've seen the show, you remember the episode where it was the fire and they were trying to get his body out the building before it burned up, because they had knew through emotion that Yusuke might not be gone. All right, so they wanted to preserve his body, even though they couldn't even see him as a ghost, as a spirit detective. That episode was probably one of the first episodes that really made me feel something emotional. That was such a good episode. But it was cool though, as we got to meet our main characters, a lot of them were very interesting, like Kurama and his being half human, half possessed by a fox spirit kind of thing. Kuwabara was always there, and in the beginning, Kuwabara kind of ignored me. Like, I mean, I didn't really like his character, is what I'm trying to say. But he grew on me like a lot, and I think that's for a lot of people. He ended up being such a interesting character. It didn't matter. Hiei and his sister and their whole thing, that was a great arc. But all in all, nothing would compare for years to come the arc that they would drop known as the Dark Tournament. Now the show was good, right? Yusuke going to get his body back, you know, being his real spirit detective route. But man, oh man, did I not know what would become something legendary. The Dark Tournament arc in Yu Yu Hakusho isn't just another power arc. It is the moment the entire series leveled up into something legendary. This was the first time I realized anime could really show us brutality and raw emotion, have their characters grow, and everybody having their own philosophy, all in one long ruthless tournament arc. The stakes weren't just high, like it felt personal, like every fight felt great. It was just, weirdly enough, a lot of the times when you see a tournament arc, you get excited because it's all about the fights or whatever. And this was no exception. The fights were great, but it was a lot of like backstory behind it, and not even just that. It was just a fun watch. Like the Dark Tournament to this day holds up. It's still a great watch. Not even just talking about his friends, but Yusuke himself. The arc that he had in his tournament, the Dark Tournament arc, it was crazy character growth. Yusuke really had to unlock deeper versions of himself. His training with Genkai made him a beast. It really gave him a sense of really being the main character. It transformed him from being a loudmouth delinquent into someone who could stand toe to toe with Toguro, who was like a menace at the time. Mind you, back in that day, Toguro was a menace of anime. Seeing how the whole Dark Tournament thing started, I remember playing the games. The games were so iconic. Those games were fire. And you know why? Because the arc was fire. And it's funny, even though he transformed to being a better person, he still was kind of a loudmouth delinquent. He never really changed that part of himself, and that was cool. Every member of Team Urameshi leveled up through that tournament. I know you gotta remember the original Dragon of the Darkness Flame. That moment shook everyone back then. Even Kuwabara, who was like the comic relief, he went crazy in the arc. And let's not forget Kurama. Oh my gosh, Kurama had such a good fight in that Dark Tournament. The Dark Tournament took every stereotype that the cast had and kind of flipped it. Kind of gave everybody growth. Even just the Dark Tournament itself, like the demons themselves, they were scary back then. And you know Yusuke was in a position where it was a very dangerous position, even from getting on the ship to come there. It didn't feel like plot armor, like characters really got messed up, right? Like you might know they were gonna win, but you really didn't know. Everybody got messed up, everybody was hurt. And by the time the final fight had arrived, it ended up being something that was absolutely amazing. But I'm not really here to explain the whole story of Yu Yu Hakusho, right? We know the Dark Tournament is one of the best arcs of all time. And personally, this was the first anime that really showed me anime is anime. It's something deeper, more adult than I was kind of used to. There has been rumors that Yu Yu Hakusho may come back. I know they dropped like an OVA with newer animation, and there was talks about maybe remastering it or doing a Hunter x Hunter 2011 type of thing. I mean, they're made by the same creator. I would absolutely love that. I would love to go back and watch Yu Yu Hakusho in a new, beautiful art, beautiful animation style, if they're able to keep some of the charm, like, well, really all of the charm. Then you keep it exactly the same. Don't really change anything, because it was kind of wild back then. And they're really going to do it. They need to do it right. And one thing they need to make sure they do, and they don't change from the original, is that fire opening. Thanks for watching. Now, that was a fun video to make. Yu Yu Hakusho has always been a great series. Now, if you want to see more anime content, obviously subscribe to the YouTube. But I do have a Discord now, and we're getting that Discord popping. It's me and a couple of anime friends in there. We talk about anime questions of the day, things of that nature. It will be a fun ride. Just check the links down in the comments below to see the Discord. And like I said, thanks for watching. Let me see Yu Yu Hakusho. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. A little bit of a nostalgia there. That being said, see you guys next video, I suppose. Maybe a little bit. Oh, and one more thing. That opening really, really is fire.